Do you know how long I've been waiting to make this video? This video is the whole reason I made this channel. My goat, Berdly, has been getting slandered ever since Chapter 2 dropped. People were calling him an incel, misogynistic, saying he's a bum, saying he's nothing more than a joke. But I had to wait and sit there silently because they clowned on him, because they called him a bum. But no, Berdly's the goat. Berdly has some of the best writing in Deltarune. He parallels a lot of the main characters in Deltarune, and a lot of people refuse to acknowledge that because Berdly reminds them of their annoying ass selves. I love Berdly. Berdly's the goat. If you hate Berdly, I just think you can't read. I love Berdly. Berdly, for most of the story, is, unfortunately, like I said, a joke character. A lot of his gags are his lack of understanding of social cues, his inability to tell when people are annoyed with him, and his just, annoyingness. But I think that if you look past all of that and actually look at Berdly, the characters he interacts with, and the way he interacts with them, you'll see a lot more depth within his character. The first thing you obviously notice is his relationship with the women in his life, whether it be Mrs. Boom, Noelle Holiday, and Queen. You see some different ways he responds to with female interaction. With Queen, he acts like a boy who wants his mother. We see during the flavor text of his first fight in Cyber City that he's talking it reads like a boy and his absent-minded and neglectful mother. When we see his interactions with Noelle, we see that he wants to supersede over Noelle, wants to act like a guardian for Noelle to mostly deflect from his own flaws. He believes that if Noelle actually sees him for who he is, then Noelle won't want to be friends with him. He has to pretend. He has to act like this big, flamboyant, boisterous guy when he isn't. He's, he's still flamboyant and, boisterous, but he doesn't want to talk over Noelle. He just thinks that's the only way to keep Noelle in his life because he cares about Noelle. He loves Noelle like a sister or a best friend. And Mrs. Boom, we don't see much of his interactions with her, but we do see that he spends most of it, that he presumably spends every Thursday preparing Friday, preparing the church for sermons and church activities. I don't remember. And we see that, and the third character, and the final female character that he interacts with is Susie. His interactions with Susie are very important to his character, and I will talk about that later. Berdly is a character that hides that hides himself, that hides who he really is. We see why he does that. During his little flashback moment where he's talking about himself, he says that he was a forgettable little bluebird. Nobody even knew his name. He was a nobody. But when he got that attention of winning the spelling bee, of being seen as smart, he understood the link now. To get people to care about him, to love him, to pay attention to him, he needs to be the smart kid. He needs to be somebody worth looking at. And so he spent most of his life creating this persona of being the smart kid, of being somebody worth looking at. Hey, look at me. I exist. Give me attention, please, because I really don't like being lonely. And we see that it spreads to every aspect of his life, from the way he acts with Chris, the way he acts with Susie, the way he acts with Noelle. He acts like this big, boisterous guy to keep people with him, to keep people looking at him, because being looked at as annoying is better than not being looked at all. We can see this when he's speaking with Susie, he tries his hardest to show up Susie, to be the smart one, to be better than everybody around him. But we see that at the end of the moment when he fails all of the puzzles, when Susie looks at him, she doesn't care. Because Susie's a real person. She doesn't look at superficial things. She looks at somebody for who they are, for their character. So she doesn't care about this big, boisterous personality that Berdly puts up. She looks at Berdly for the person that he is. and not the ideas that he puts up. We see, and I think that he also reflects Susie a lot. Like Susie, Berdly puts up this idea to hide his real self, the person that he actually is. Meanwhile, Susie picks up, keeps where Susie and Berdly's personalities are meant to be inverses and parallels of each other. Where Berdly puts up a performance, a facade to keep people close to him, to keep people, to make friends, to help himself. Susie makes this persona to push people away, to hide hurt, to prevent herself from being hurt again and again and again, because she has understood that most people will only see her as the cruel girl, the mean girl, the bully. So she hides herself and she pushes people away. Where Berdly, he is, but they're also similar. Berdly and Susie are both very quick to protect and help people. Well, the moment that Berdly realizes that what he's done was hurting Noelle and not actually helping her, he immediately is more than willing to put his life on the line. I mean, he burns his arm up so badly that it's paralyzed in the light world just to help Noelle and Chris and Susie and Rosse. And Susie is more than willing to put herself in harm's way, as we see in chapter 4, to protect the people that she cares about. This is to say that I think that Berdly's main theme is acceptance. Berdly wants to be accepted. He wants people to like him. He wants to make friends. But Berdly's way of getting that attention, that friendship, is inherently flawed because of the way that he understands it. Berdly, as a child, as I said, no attention was given to him unless he did something in return. To him, love is conditional. He needs to do something to gain said love, and without him doing those things, Berdly feels that he's useless. So obviously, Berdly puts up a persona for Queen, for Noelle, for Susie, for Chris, for everybody around him, because for a person like Berdly, he believes love is conditions. But I think that around chapter 5, 6, and 7, we will see much more of Berdly's real personality, much more of Berdly being willing to open up. And we see that he does want to open up to people. In chapter 4, Berdly puts up this persona because he thinks that nobody knows this. And he seems genuinely saddened. He's like, yeah, for sure, I definitely want to be alone today. But look at the way he's talking. He's actively disappointed because to him, it's a moment where he's forced to put up this facade, this idea of himself. And so I think that Berdly is a far more interesting character than people give him credit for. I think that Berdly, he deserves just as much introspection and character analysis as any other Deltarune character. And I think that it's sort of a double-edged sword. Toby Fox made this funny, jokey character, but he also made a very well-written character, so it's hard to get people to actually look at him. This was Chatting with Tommy. If anybody decided to listen in and watch this video, I hope you have a great day. Fuck Chris, they're a traitor. I love Berdly. Berdly's the GOAT.